Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Thomas. Tonight we're back here with the Green Scorpion, and well, you guys wanted it since April Fool's, and here it is. Sorry, it took a while. It's the top 10 video game versions of Sun Wukong. If you guys don't know, well, let's just say he's inspired a lot of anime characters, and probably the most famous character from Journey to the West. Which, by the way, I really gotta get back on that, you know? But anywho, how about we just hop back and, see who Sun Wukong inspired in the video game industry, shall we? Be sure to like, subscribe for more. Hope you enjoy. Let's go. Could have done a better flip.
10, 9, 8, 7,
Infernape.
5, 4, 3, 2,
1, go. Here we go.
Happy April Fool's Day, my fellow jesters. The Green Scorpion here, again to celebrate my favorite ironic holiday. And as always, I prefer not to use this day of misdirection and mayhem as an excuse to slip out a half-baked joke at the expense of my audience, but
Fair
instead
enough.
to put my usual amount of effort into something a little more light and silly. Today isn't a day to be lazy. It's a day to celebrate the fools, the follies, the foibles, and the phonies. And today, we have the king of monkey shines, the Monkey King himself.
Yep.
This has been a running joke on my channel since my top 50 favorite games countdown, where I said this: if I ever want to do a top 10 Minotaurs, top 10 Fencers, or top 10 versions of Sun Wukong, I know where I can find at least one entry. I meant this as a throwaway line, but quite a few comments cropped up saying, hey, that Sun Wukong
Why not?
countdown actually sounds pretty cool. For you less cultured primates out there, just
Harsh,
who
but fair.
is Sun Wukong? Well, it's history time. Plug your ears, cover your eyes, and shut your mouth if you don't care. Sun
Or fall
Wukong
asleep if
is
you
a
want.
character from the 16th century Chinese novel Journey to the West, a 2,000-page beast of a story about a Buddhist monk named Tong Sunshang. Sunshang embarks on a divine mission to retrieve sacred scrolls from the subcontinent
Isn't
of
it
India,
pronounced
and is
Tripitaka,
joined
though?
by 3 supernatural bodyguards, a pig demon named Zhu Baji, or Pigsy, a river spirit named Sha Wu Jing, or Sandy, and Sun Wukong, who has a whole mess of a backstory. He's an anthropomorphic monkey born from a stone egg. He became the king of monkeys on the Flower Fruit Island, learned a slew of magical abilities from a Taoist master, stole multiple magics that made him immortal, the list
Pretty
goes
much.
on. Finally, he was trapped by the Buddha himself and forced into Sunshang's
Under a
service
mountain.
with a magical metal headband that Sunshang could shrink on a whim to keep the Monkey King under control. The journey was a mostly episodic trip down the Silk Road, with most problems being solved by Sun Wukong himself and his myriad of abilities. And the character was so
true.
popular, he became a fixture of Chinese fiction and culture, held in the same regard as other trickster gods like Loki from Norse myth or Coyote from Mesoamerican fables. And he served as an inspiration for many characters in East Asian media, perhaps most famously Son Goku from
Goku,
Dragon Ball.
yep.
So for this list, we're gonna celebrate these Monkey King lights, as TV Tropes likes to call them. We'll be considering any character who displays some combination of Sun Wukong's qualities. His ability to fly on clouds, control fire and other natural elements, create duplicates of himself from his hairs, and transforming into anyone or anything. His constant need to prove himself through fighting, stealing, and winning, whether it's against common animals or all-powerful deities. There's also the iconography, including his tail, fancy headband, and indestructible shape-changing staff. And if he's a monkey,
Basically,
all the better.
if it screams
but that's
Sun
not a
Wukong,
deal maker
yeah,
or breaker.
you're good.
I'm more so interested in clever ways to reference this famous Chinese travelogue. But
Shall
don't
we?
take the point system too seriously, because Sun Wukong
Again,
certainly wouldn't. And with that, enough monkeying around. I'm the Green Scorpion, and this is my
Let's
top
begin.
10 characters inspired by Sun Wukong. From video games.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Sorry, Goku. I mean, come on. Too easy. He'd be number 1. Number 10.
Sun Wukong's diverse abilities make him a popular concept for a boss, particularly for Asian audiences who are more likely to get the reference. For example, I considered
Hey,
Kitiang
look.
Dasheng, who translates these abilities into a Final Fantasy XIV raid boss, or Buster Rod G, an exclusive boss from Mega Man The Wily Wars alongside XPs of the other 2 disciples, Pigsy and
Okay.
Sandy. But my favorite Monkey King boss fight comes from a German-developed indie game.
Crosscode. Oh,
Crosscode,
yo.
which follows
Heard
our
of this.
mute heroine Leah as she searches to regain her memories from within an MMORPG. Yeah, it's an isekai. Leah's quest takes her to the Grand
Yes.
Kajo Temple, and as she climbs, she is observed by the temple's caretaker, an anthropomorphic monkey called the Son of the East, and it doesn't take long to see the inspiration. The Son of
Yeah.
the East's in-game description even says that he was hatched from a magic stone, and he's got the headband with his hair spiking out of the top, a common staple for
And the
Monkey King
cloud.
fights. What I like about this fight is the pacing, each of the 3 phases introducing another facet of the Monkey Man that relates to the story. In Phase 1, he quickly demonstrates his mastery with the staff, spinning it
Baby, right
in
round.
Phase
Sorry for
2,
the
he
question.
starts incorporating his rideable cloud. And this cloud comes from a move that Sun Wukong learned from his Taoist master, the Cloud Somersault, often depicted as a sort of riding platform like the Nimbus in Dragon Ball. By the way, get used to me saying Dragon Ball a lot. In Phase 3, Sun adds an attack with fake duplicates of himself, challenging Leah to quickly shoot the real monkey. It's a pretty great fight overall, and the Son of the East shows a lot more grace in defeat than I'd expect from the original Sun Wukong. But he's far from done. In the area's final boss, the Son of the East will fight you alongside the Ancient Guardian, a giant face-shifting whale, and it's pretty hectic managing both of them. Now, if I wanted to make a stretch, I could say that this whale is sort of like Sandy's true form, but mainly I just think it's an awesome encounter that tests the player's ability to monitor multiple attack patterns. And apparently the devs liked this boss as much as I did because they added a palette swap of the Son of the East in the tropical area of the DLC, titled the Son of the Beach. Okay, that's
Son of a beach. Okay.
the cousin of the Son of the East, the Son of the Beach. Okay.
Yeah, we
okay,
get the name. Come on,
The
you
Son
good?
of the Beach has been waiting in eternity
Thank you.
for a worthy fight, and he's arguably the hardest super boss in the game, now sporting all 4 of the game's elements and is all around just way too fast for his own good. Hitting all of the main points of the Sun Wukong iconography, this motley monkey and his Echo Fighter make a great start to our
Go
list.
fuck.
Son
Yeah.
of the Beach.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's gonna stick with me for a while.
Yeah. I wonder if it's like, well, that was hard. Let's make him harder.
So
Right?
that was pretty cut and dry. So let's try something a bit less on brand.
Monster Hunter?
Whoa, that's a chunky monkey.
Chucky. Oh, I was right. Huh. So, who's this guy? I don't
When
play.
you've designed as many monsters as Capcom has for the Monster Hunter series, you probably need some sources of inspiration. We've had Malzeno, who's basically Dracula in dragon form, and Garangol, who's basically Frankenstein's monster in beast form. But then there's Rajang, who may look like your run-of-the-mill
Rajang.
giant horned gorilla, but underneath his monkey exterior is a kingly interior.
Destruction Incarnate.
And a kingly name. Raja happens to be the Hindi word for king, and Hindi is the national language of India where Sun Wukong and Sanshang were traveling to. And the author of Journey to the West, Wu Shingen, was inspired by a lot of Hindu lore. Coincidence? Maybe,
I
but
think
that
that-
wouldn't explain the armors that you can craft from Rajang's hide.
Hey,
The
it's
spinning
Divine Iron
image of
Mask
Sun
and
Wukong's
Holy.
crimson garb.
Kote,
Wielding the
Obe, and
insect
Hakama.
blade, you basically are playing as the Monkey Man himself. But if you're the Monkey Man,
Actually looks
then
fun.
that makes Rajang the Monkey Monster. In the novel, one of Sun
Beast.
Wukong's 72 transformations was a giant brutish version of himself, which he used to quell a rebellion of his monkey subjects on Flower Fruit Island. This King Kong form was so terrifying,
Unfortunately,
demons mistook
yeah.
Sun Wukong for one of their own and offered alliances with him, which is what first made the gods take notice of Sun Wukong and see him as a possible threat.
Oh yeah, and the monkeys
Rajang
kind
be
of
the
got
Monkey
scared
King's
by it,
demon
so
form?
they're like,
And
"Hell
alternatively,
no, I'm out."
he could also be a mix of the Monkey King and the Ox King, one of Sun
Oh.
Wukong's greatest adversaries. Now, this is all very compelling, but I still
mean,
feel
it's
like
got the
there's
Ox
something
one,
missing. Some missing link between this Chinese myth and this Capcom boss fight.
Oh, there's the golden form.
Okay, yeah, did he just go Super Saiyan?
Yes, he
Yeah,
did.
that's right. Rajang's not just based on Sun Wukong, he's based on Goku, who's also based on Sun Wukong. In
Yeah,
fact,
you
Son
see it.
Goku is just the Japanese name of Sun Wukong, if you didn't know that already. And I didn't want to include Goku likes on this list, as that would force me to consider characters like Ryu and Supersonic, and we'd spiral off topic. But
Yeah,
this
stop.
still relates to Goku's monkeyness enough by transitive property.
Oh yeah, the Great
Goku's
Ozoru.
own giant monkey form, Uzaru, was a direct reference to the novel. And as for
Wasn't that the
non-direct
original?
references, yes, Rajang's hair
Dragon
stands up
Ball?
straight
Dragon
and
Ball
glows
Z?
gold when he gets angry
Barely
enough.
even see that.
He does the electric Kamehameha, And the best way to snap him out of his rage is to make like Piccolo and cut off his tail. Plus,
Yep.
look at the
Double
Rajang
tap.
variants. Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan
Furious
3,
Raging.
and Super Saiyan
Enma.
Rose? Okay, seriously? Even Goku Black had to get in on this? And yes, I know this is a Demon Slayer reference, but come on, this is just Goku Black. And while these are more direct references to the shonen hero rather than the baboon from the book, the overall
True.
spirit of Sun Wukong still remains intact. The greatest trait Sun Wukong and Goku have in common is their love of fighting, preferring to seek out the strongest opponents. See, in Monster Hunter, there are these creatures called the Elder Dragons, which are generally
Yeah.
the apex predators, the
You got
toughest
it.
challenge out there. And Rajang is one of the only monsters to actively seek out and fight them. That's pretty much the Monster Hunter equivalent of challenging the Jade Emperor or Beerus.
Pretty
Rajang
much.
will even take on Kirin, a powerful lightning unicorn, and eat its horn to increase its own power. And that's another similarity in all three characters, actually. Getting stronger by eating things you shouldn't. Well, you know what they say. A Super Saiyan gets stronger every time he almost dies. Which I
Zenkai
really
boost.
wish applied to me whenever I play this game. Seriously, I can't tell you how many times this bastard carded me.
Wouldn't we all? But then we'd be too overpowered.
Let's focus on some smaller
Oh,
monkeys
Pokemon.
going forward. In fact, this next monkey monster can fit in your pocket.
Chimchar.
Infernape, a
There you go.
firefighting type Pokemon and the fully evolved form of Chimchar, and one of the Gen 4 starters. As any analytic Pokemon fan knows, Pokemon designs are rarely based on just one thing, and fans
True.
have pointed to a few possible inspirations for this bombastic baboon. One theory long held by fans was that the fire starters in all Pokemon games were animals from the Chinese zodiac. Dragon,
Wait.
rooster, pig, tiger, rabbit, and
And monkey.
Infernape would fit perfectly as the monkey. But not only is it a far cry to call
Oh, yeah, the
Delphox
fox
a dog
and-
or Typhlosion a rat, Scarlet and Violet seems to have killed this trend for good because I don't know if any
Oh,
of
yeah.
you can claim that you were born in the year of the crocodile.
Crocodile.
Infernape's fighting type might
closer.
also be a reference to monkey-style kung fu, and his fire typing seems to connect him to Hanuman, the humanoid monkey god from Hindu myth, who was also fireproof, but that also works out perfectly for our ranking, as Hanuman
Are we sure
and
it's
his
not
race, the
Sun Wukong as a
Vanara,
god?
were likely what inspired Wu Shingen to write the character of Sun Wukong in the first place. Sun Wukong was fireproof thanks to his consuming heavenly wine of invincibility, and while he also learned to control water and wind in his magic training, fire was his favorite element to play with. As for Infernape's general appearance, the little swirls in his fur to me resemble the way clouds are drawn in old Chinese artwork, and the flaming hair resembles the typical Sun Wukong spiky hair, perhaps combined with the phoenix feather that he often wore. His Japanese name, Gokazaru, could just mean
Gokazaru?
inferno and monkey, but it also has a passing resemblance to the name Goku. And if Infernape is Sun Wukong, that would make Embor Jubaji, the pig demon, and that
Icky
just fits
Pixie.
way too well. So yeah, Infernape definitely fits the definition, and he lives up to the hype as far as his stats go. As is often the case, choosing the fire starter in Diamond and Pearl guarantees you a tougher time against the rock types in the first gym, but like Torchic and Tepig, Chimchar quickly outgrows his weakness when he evolves and gains the fighting type. With high speed, attack, and special attack, interestingly enough, Infernape grows into a glass cannon mixed attacker, perfect for sweeping in the late stages of a match. The Monkey King levels of impulse are present in Infernape's naturally occurring signature moves as well. Close Combat, which lowers its defenses after use, and Flare Blitz, which inflicts heavy recoil damage. Infernape's definitely gonna get banged up, but hopefully his opponent will die first. Not to
Pretty
mention its
much.
ability Blaze, which powers up fire moves at lower HP. Though hopefully you can track down the hidden ability Iron Fist for more powerful punch attacks instead. Blaze honestly isn't all that good, but you wouldn't know that from watching the anime, where Ash's Infernape is basically the second coming of Charizard. Infernape versus Electivire is
And the
easily in the top
pre-battle
10 fights
bond,
of the
if you guys
anime,
know
and
it.
that's saying something. As usual, Pokemon used a cultural motif as a jumping off point for a creature design, turning it into something that's awesome even if you don't get the reference. I'm not saying Infernape's the best Sinnoh starter, but the Pokemon Company seems to be leaning
true.
in that direction.
Well, to be fair, it is one of two, like, starters Ash gets. He gets the Infernape and the Torterra. Whichever one you want to use is up to you. Though, oof. And I'll be real, I actually did use Infernape when I played Brilliant Diamond. Or was it Shining Pearl? I don't know. Speaking of which, I need to go back and see if I can redo that game, but I don't know. Like I said, already done that, but I just don't have the footage anymore. You know, the hack and all. Well, I wasn't expecting to get hacked. Anyway, so 3 down, 7 more to go. Let's see who's next. Definitely a fun monkey
Now,
to
I
play
know what
with.
you're thinking. All this
Dynasty
talk
Warrior?
of Chinese literature and history. Where's the Dynasty Warriors entry? Very
Up
astute,
next.
my hypothetical audience member. To which I say, wow, racist. Not all Chinese history is connected, you know. Dynasty Warriors takes place in the Warring States period of China, which ended 900 years before Journey to the West took place, and 1700 years before it was even written. Why would Sun Wukong be there? Okay, actually, he's in Warriors Orochi, but that's not what I'm going with here. Instead, my
Don't
research
count.
on TV tropes suggested that I take a look at Dynasty Warriors' sister series, Samurai Warriors, and the hapless hero,
Samurai Wars? Oh,
Toyotomi
Hideo?
Hideyoshi. So I pulled up the Koei Wiki to get an idea of the character, and then I needed to lie down. Look, Sun Wukong wouldn't do this much research, so why should I? Like
mean,
all of the
he's
Dynasty
the man
and
who
Samurai
united
Warriors
Japan.
characters,
I'm not
Toyotomi
surprised.
Hideyoshi is based on a real figure, and Koei Tecmo likes to use their somewhat cartoony version of historical figures in multiple properties, from Samurai Warriors to Nobunaga's ambition. Historically, Hideyoshi was actually one of the closest confidants to Oda Nobunaga himself, found as a peasant and trained
It's a
into a
sister to
samurai
him.
master. His lowborn perspective on combat made him an unpredictable strategist, and he went down in legend alongside Nobunaga as one of the 3 great unifiers of Japan. He also allegedly looked like a monkey. Well, that's
Really?
rude. Historical accounts differ on this, but it's said that Nobunaga called him a monkey as a term of mixed endearment and derision. So in Samurai Warriors, Koei decided to take that note and run with it. This Hideyoshi is an eccentric, happy-go-lucky sweetheart who would give his life for Nobunaga, and thinks that their warlording will eventually make a world where everyone can be happy. Not how warlording works in my experience, but you'll find that a lot of these monkey warrior types are playful optimists. It's a little tough with this one
Sounds
to
right.
separate what's based on Sun Wukong from what's based on the actual Hideyoshi. Like, I know that ridiculous helmet looks like the Phoenix feather cap, but no, that's actually what the man's helmet looked like. He was kind of a weirdo. It's more accurate to say that
Yeah, it
Koei
works.
took this already monkey-like figure and mixed some Sun Wukong into him. Take his weapon, for example. It's not just a quarterstaff, but a Sansetskun, or 3-section staff. This is pretty much the closest real-world weapon I can
Basically,
imagine to
bow
the
with a
shape-changing
nunchuck.
steel pillar that Sun Wukong used. And in some games, they move away from this with a Naginata, but his weapon is generally some sort of rod or polearm. It's not just that he has a polearm, though. What makes a Monkey King is how he uses the polearm. And for Toyotomi, that thing's basically a portable tree for him to climb and swing from. Sun Wukong may have been strong and impulsive, but after his first headlong rush to an opponent fails, he usually proved incredibly crafty. And we see this craft in Toyotomi's tactics, using feint and misdirection against a single opponent, and on a larger scale, crazy gambits and formations on the battlefield. The ebb and flow of war is basically a game to him. You'd swear he drank some of that immortality wine that Sun Wukong found. And his playful attitude can be found in all of his references and
Pokemon
crossovers,
Conquest.
including Pokemon Conquest, where his main partner Pokemon is
Inferno,
and later Infernape.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
Combining a Japanese historical figure with a Chinese literary figure, Hideyoshi is a certified monkey man and a master of guerrilla warfare. Ugh, that one hurt.
Hey, if it works, it works.
No time to rest. My
Yoo-hoo!
dreams await me.
Number 6.
Come to think of it,
Didn't
this list could
expect
almost double
Hideyoshi
for
here.
a Weapons Month installment. If I ever did a top 10 staff wielders, I'd have quite a few Monkey Kings applying. This might just be me, but the
be
first
surprised.
staff-wielding character I usually think of is Kilik from Soul Calibur. In a fighting game where most people wield
Wouldn't
some sort of
Yoshimitsu
blade,
be the,
Kilik speaks softly and carries a big stick, and that extended range makes him a favorite for newcomers. But aside from the staff, there's not a lot connecting Kilik to Sun Wukong. Fortunately, Soul Calibur 5 gave us another staff wielder, and although he's not as popular, he's much more
Monkey King?
monkey-like. Chai Shiba is a secret love child
Shiba?
of Kilik and Shanghua, sent away to live in a monk monastery where he ironically learned the same Ling Shengsu fighting style as the father he never met.
What a twist.
But while Kilik
Thank you,
was a
Shanghua.
wise, serious, emotionally
What a twist.
tortured character, Shiva is an absolute goofball. He loves food, he has fun fighting, and that's kind of it for him. He's a pretty flat character, but to be fair, Sun Wukong isn't necessarily complex. Food, fighting, fun. A member of the new generation of Soul Calibur fighters, Shiba is on a quest with Maxi, Leixia, and Natsu to track down Kilik, which the game's wiki refers to as a journey to the west. Okay, Namco, really? I guess Maxi as the leader would be SonSon, with the 3 kids as his disciples. Though I don't see Leixia or Natsu representing Pigsy or Sandy at all. The parallels kind of end at Shiba, but there are a lot of them. Take his outfit, for example. Tiger stripes? Isn't Sun Wukong a monkey? Well, this is actually another direct reference to the myth, as when Sun Wukong decided that he was a sophisticated simian who wanted to wear clothes, so he effortlessly defeated and skinned a Bengal tiger, whose pelt you can see in many depictions of the character. But Shiba's Wukongness comes out most in his fighting style, borrowing from Kilik's moveset, but adding in some eccentricities. You got Rising Monkey, where he balances on his staff like a macaque on bamboo, Shanghai Punishment, which ends with a funny head bonk, and Kong's Ryu Bangtail, which... dude, that cannot be comfortable to pull off. All of these moves suggest that Shiba likes to have fun when he's kicking ass, getting under his opponent's skin with his immature but effective antics. And this culminates with his critical art, Kong's Dance of Qitiang Da Sheng. And yes, viewer, you did hear that name before. A+ for you, gold stars. Qitiang Da Sheng was also the name of that Final Fantasy XIV boss, as well as a Dragalia Lost character, rest in peace, and is the title Sun Wukong gave himself when the gods wouldn't give him a better one, translating to the Great Sage, Heaven's Equal. I wouldn't say Shiba's quite worthy of that
Great Sage Equal to Heaven,
but he is worthy of the reference. He's certainly a great way of adapting a Monkey King moveset onto a more down-to-earth, non-superpowered character. I don't know if we'll ever see these newbies from Soul Calibur 5 again. They were so unpopular that Namco rebooted the timeline for 6, but Shiba will continue to live in my memory as Kilik's weird monkey boy of a son.
Man, do I love me some steam buns! Oh yeah!
Yeah, you could definitely hear it in that.
Shiba and Hideyoshi represent the skills of the Monkey King in what's meant to be a normal human. Maybe a smidge superhuman, though. Hideyoshi fights a lot of people at once. But I'm still not getting that insane power trip I want to feel from being a Monkey King.
Oh, Skull Hero. Alright, hello then.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Monkey Skull.
If you don't know about Skull the Hero Slayer, keep up, bro. I made a whole countdown about it. It's a hard-as-nails roguelike starring this little skeleton named Skull, who can wear the craniums of deceased heroes to gain their abilities. Kinda like Kirby, except less of a horrifying eldritch monstrosity. Like, when you think about it, how is that any different? Kirby's a monster. And one of these craniums is that of the Stone Monkey. This might stretch the definition of characters based on Sun Wukong, because it's not Skull himself who's applicable, it's just this one power set. It'd be like if I ranked Staff Kirby from Star Allies. Yeah, did you remember that he had a Wukong ability? The staff extends and everything. In the case of Skull, though, by the rules of the lore, the Stone Monkey must be Harmonia's version of Sun Wukong, who's dead now. And now I have his head. Just go with it, okay? Stone Monkey, as you might recall, was my 10th favorite skull on my list, and for good reason. He's fun to look at, I love the theme, and he kicks a lot of ass. Just look at these gorgeous pixels. As you upgrade this skull on a given run, he grows from Stone Monkey to Monkey King to Immortal King, and finally Overlord, each displaying the hero in a different stage of his arc, with 4 completely different yet equally faithful versions of his outfit from traditional art. You can see Tong's headband from the get-go, eventually joined by armor of gold and that phoenix feather headdress that kinda looks like Lu Bu. Wait, is Lu Bu based on Wukong? No, let's not chase Lu Bu.
Nah.
Each of these phases comes with a short description that lines up the phases of the story. And this presentation is matched by a zippy and satisfying moveset. Stone Monkey is a speed skull, appropriately enough, with a pretty tough 3-hit combo using his staff, and a number of abilities to lay on the hurt like Shiba if he watched more anime. But where this monkey shines is in his duplication power. So far, only one other character on our list has featured duplication, and it was rather downplayed. In his first form, Stone Monkey can drop clones that will attack nearby enemies, and in his final form, they copy his basic attacks and special abilities, meaning that you can beat up a boss in melee from the other side of the room, and 20 other enemies while you're at it. On top of that, concentrating
Cloud
can
Ride.
extend the size of the staff, giving all of your shadow clones extra reach. And every time you swap into Stone Monkey, he does a little air dash on his Zephyr Cloud, and at higher levels, this drops even more clones until you flooded the entire screen with furious facsimiles of yourself,
Dang.
all spinning like windmills in a hurricane. For what is perhaps
luck
the
trying to
most
get through.
important ability in Wukong's repertoire, this game comes closest to reaching its destructive potential. You get a
Really?
good snowball run with this skull,
first
and
you-
you'll see why this one monkey army made the gods nervous. Put enough monkeys at enough typewriters, and everything will die eventually.
Pretty much. Yeah, this one's just pretty much overwhelmed the enemy. This is done.
Ranking this countdown was full of
Marvel
surprises
vs.
for
Capcom.
me.
Okay.
I've been playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 for 23 years, and I can always remember putting my first quarter into the machine at my local arcade and being blown away by the sheer number of characters, many of which I didn't even recognize. In fact, 3 of them I couldn't have recognized, as they
Really?
had been created for this game
yeah,
specifically.
Ruby Heart.
The
What's
Pirate
that?
Queen Ruby Heart, the Cactus Man Amigo,
Migo?
and the Monkey Girl SonSon.
SonSon.
I knew she'd be in the running for the list, but it wasn't until I started
Dang, really?
researching that I realized that she'd
there she
be
is.
in the top 5. And so,
Wanna take you for a ride.
but first I'm...
Gonna take you back to the past.
In 1984,
Thanks.
Capcom
Oh, there's
released
SonSon.
SonSon, an arcade run-and-gun based on Journey to the West. And unlike, say, Kid Icarus, who uses its Greek myth loosely as a backdrop,
Keyword
SonSon
loosely.
is actually fairly detailed with its premise. You control the Monkey King, except his name is changed to SonSon, and Pigsy,
Oh,
except his name is changed to Tauntaun, on a mission to save their
I
three
guess they
companions
couldn't
from
have had the rights
demons.
to him yet.
Wait, 3? Let's see, we got Sunshine, Sandy, and... Oh hey, they remember the horse! Nice, everyone forgets about it. So SonSon
Yeah,
uses his
kind of an
staff,
unsung
and
hero of the
Tauntaun
group, huh?
uses his magic rake. Yeah,
I think
that's
it was a
thing.
dragon, if
To
I
fight
remember
through waves of
correctly.
enemies.
That
Simple
or a sea
stuff,
serpent,
but
I
that's a
can't
standard
remember
formula for a
which.
chapter of the book.
Well, let's go sea serpent.
And then there was a
'cause
sequel
that's
in
about-
1986, and the
SonSon
characters
2.
even made cameos in other Capcom games
Huh.
like Puzzle Fighters. The SonSon we meet in Marvel 2 is actually SonSon the Third, meant to be the
Okay.
original SonSon's granddaughter, who's taken up her pappy's staff on a mission to save the world from Abyss, possibly with the help of Ruby Heart and Amingo. So that's the background, but what won me over on this character was watching her in action. She was never high tier, not helped by being an obscure reference that no one cared about, but once you
Ouch.
understand her, you realize that her moveset
Damn.
is chock full of loving references. Not just to the
Fine
80s
monkey.
arcade game, but to the 16th century novel as well. In the arcade game, when SonSon lost a life, he would respawn on the Zephyr Cloud to get back onto the stage, and here, this serves as SonSon's air dash. She also has a ranged special where she blows some of her hairs like a dandelion, only for them to transform into a mob of mini monkeys. That's a detail a lot of these characters don't bother with, that Sun Wukong's copies were made from strands of his fur. For her hyper combos, we got the one where she transforms the staff into a full palace pillar, another where she goes all Uzaru mode, and a third
Damn.
where she turns the enemy into a peach, or some other fruit, and devours them until they're nothing
Nom
but
nom.
a seed. In the arcade game, there was a Pac-Man style screen nuke that turned all enemies
Oh.
into edible peaches, and if you go
And
further
fries and
back,
eggs, what the hell?
fruit, especially peaches, hold
Oh,
a special
yeah.
place in the original story. As a monkey,
I'll let him
Sun
explain.
Wukong didn't like cooked meats. He mostly ate fruit. In fact,
Yeah,
part of the
vegan.
reason he's immortal is because he stole all the magic peaches from a goddess prize orchard. So seeing that
And by the way,
incorporated
those
into a
peaches are
hyper
what
combo
those
is
gods
just the kind
would
of
allow the
silliness that I
gods
love
to
to
remain
see in
immortal.
Marvel. But my favorite
Basically,
deep
you don't
cut
need to beach,
is the
you're eventually
command
gonna
part,
die.
where the enemy is sucked into
Oh.
a gourd and boiled for a moment. This
Yep.
gourd and the fan she uses to stoke the flames are 2 of the 5 treasures that Sun Wukong stole from the gold and silver horn demon brothers in a chapter of the book. To think that so much thought was put into possibly the least remembered character of the game's roster, and she was never seen again. I'm starting to think that SonSon was sucked into that gourd herself. Let her out, Capcom. Put her in another Capcom versus. If we had more fun picks like this in Infinite, people might still be playing it.
Yeah, fair. And honestly, if I think I remember correctly, like I said, it's been a while since I've seen the, Journey to the West videos, but if I remember correctly, okay, so there was also Lao Z in the chapters. Like, this is before they start the Journey to the West, right? We gotta get some origin on the Monkey King and all. But after he ate the peaches, he ran because, he was gonna get trouble, so... and eventually found his way into Lao Zi's workshop. Or Lao Tzu? Lao Tzu, we'll go with that. Anyway, and then he found his pills that also grant immortal. Like I said, immortal 6 ways to Sunday. And guess what? Ate them all too. So, in an attempt to, get them out of the Monkey King system, well, guess what? Try to boil them alive in a pressure cooker. Kind of like what SonSon did with the gourd. You'd be surprised. Like I said, you would be surprised. Anyway, so down to the final 3. So let's wrap this thing up.
You know who really loves Sun Wukong? MOBA games. Multiplayer online battle
Online
arena,
battle
more like
royales.
Monkey Overlord battles all. Probably because most of them are owned by
Smite?
Tencent, which is in fact a Chinese company. This genre of team-based toxicity fuel has so
which game
many
you
Sun
going
Wukong
to?
stand-ins that they would have taken up half the list. So to spare you all
Again,
of that,
one
I
per
decided to just
genre. Oh,
plop
there we
them
go.
all in one entry. Believe me, it's better this way.
All of them?
Dota
Alright.
All-Stars, the modded game mode in Warcraft 3, and in many ways the first MOBA,
Azwraith,
featured
huh.
a character called Azwraith the Phantom Lancer. His stick was pointier and his features were more feline,
AKA spear.
but all of his abilities revolved around making copies of himself. He could turn invisible and leave a copy as a decoy, his attacks randomly spawned copies, his projectiles spawned copies, and every time the game lagged, he spawned more copies. Not a definitive inspiration, but enough similarities to our prankster hero. When Valve bought up the concept of Dota, fans had a long wait for the full legitimate Dota 2, but in the meantime, a couple of
AKA
other
Phantom
games
Lancer.
moved in to fill the void, all with their own concept of a multiplying polearm master. Heroes of New Earth achieved this with Monkey King, yeah, they went right for it, and League of Legends produced Wukong. Both characters technically original, but very forthright about their mythological inspiration.
attempt on
Phantom
it.
Lancer returned in Dota 2, but Valve went a step beyond with another hero, Sun Wukong, who has the same backstory as the literary Monkey King, other than having characters like Buddha swapped out for their own universe's gods.
Bonk.
In Smite, on the other Buddhist palm, it's 100% the gem from the story. Come on,
Yep.
Sun Wukong would never miss out on an all-god smackdown.
You gotta
No
have all
Wukongs
the
in
gods.
Heroes of the Storm, though Samuro has a pretty recognizable skin. And I know this isn't a MOBA, but where else am I going to mention
Oh,
it?
yeah.
There's a Wukong frame in Warframe.
Oh, yeah.
People are always
I
asking me
remember
to
this.
talk about this game, so his
There you
suit
go.
makes a little clone of itself. There, I talked about it. While the
be
broad
surprised
strokes
how
of each of
fast you
these
can get.
characters are pretty similar, with stabs and copies, each chimp champion has a little something about them that makes them special. Dota 2's Wukong can jump on treetops to survey the area, Smite's can actually transform into different animals to up his mobility, and his ultimate has him riding his cloud for amazing escape potential. League of Legends is naturally the one I'm most familiar with, and I think it does a good job
course.
creatively referencing the original without being identical. For instance, his race is called the Vastaya, like the creatures from Hindu myth, and his journey sees him learning his powers from Master Yi, in the same way that Sun Wukong learned to transform and fly from his Taoist Shifu. And all of them have that annoying bait and switch where you think you've cornered them, but it's just a godsarn monkey fake that hits you with a stick. That's annoying no matter what game you're playing. They say good artists borrow and great artists steal, and if that's the case, MOBAs are the next Italian Renaissance. Monkey see, monkey do, monkey be in the public domain for you.
Yeah, pretty much. Actually, is Journey to the West in the public domain? Time to look it up. Number 2?
Well, I think we've about peaked when it comes to book accuracy, but not when it comes to adaptation. My last 2 characters stray away from Sun Wukong's legacy, but Sun Wukong was a master of transformation, and I admire the way these next 2 entries transform the core idea of the Monkey King into an entirely new story, without even being monkeys themselves. No matter what some people might say.
At the very least, I'm more admirable than some carnal blonde monkey.
Damn.
You little...
Ryuji
Hey,
Sakamoto,
Ryuji.
troublemaker of Shujin Academy and one of the founding members of the Phantom Thieves. At a glance, this will
Third
seem like
member,
the most
baby.
ancillary inclusion to the list, but bear with me and you'll see that the heart of Sun
bro.
Wukong beats deep within our bleach blonde boy. Sort of
I mean, if you guys know my live streams,
Ryuji
you know
is
what's
the
up.
first friend Joker makes at Shujin during his year-long probation,
You can
and
call him Ren,
immediately
it's
the
fine.
teachers warn Joker not to befriend him. Ryuji is the wrong crowd, so they say, the problem student. But you quickly
Yeah, blame
learn
that on
his bad
Kamoshida over there.
reputation was instilled by a
Okay.
megalomaniacal gym teacher. Ryuji's chances at sports stardom were dashed, and even worse, he was ostracized by everyone as a problem child. A sad backstory, but one that sets him up perfectly to become a phantom thief. Each Persona game has a theme to the party members' personas. In Persona 3, they're all inspired by Greek myth, Shinto myth in Persona 4, but 5 goes for a more thematic pattern, making all the team's personas into famous ne'er-do-wells, particularly ones who rebelled against the major power. When Ryuji confronts the Shadow of Kamoshida, the man who ruined his life, Ryuji embraces the aspects of himself that he thought he hated, and his persona manifests. The spirit of rebellion takes the form of Captain Kidd, a 17th century privateer who was unjustly tried as a pirate. But that's far from the end of Ryuji's character growth. See, Ryuji is often seen as a stupid character, obsessed with girls and bad at school. He's often referred to as a monkey. First in Kamoshida's palace, where the teacher's library has him listed as a vulgar ape, and often by Morgana to get under his skin. This is chalked up as a negative trait, but I see it as a positive one, and I think the game agrees with me. Yeah, he's got base desires, but cut him some slack, he's a teenager. And he can be clever and thoughtful when he wants to be. The only problem is that he's hot-headed and impulsive, always the first one to act when he sees something is wrong with the world. He has no tolerance for bullshit,
an act now,
and
think
no
later
filter
kind of guy.
for his retorts. So if you complete Ryuji's social link, he learns to understand himself better, and his persona evolves to become Seiten Taisei, which is the Japanese translation of Kityang Dasheng, the self-given title of Sun Wukong. Now, Persona 5 Royal added another tier that saw his persona changing back into a pirate, but for Vanilla P5 at least, this was the purest, most complete representation of Ryuji's soul. Not just a monkey, but the Monkey King. See? Told you we'd get there. And with that in mind, a bunch of smaller similarities come into focus. Ryuji's weapons, for instance, are all clubs, not too dissimilar from a staff. His posture is a bit simian-like, as is his walk cycle, possibly due to a previous injury. His skull mask
he has his leg broken.
His forehead in a rather primate way. And more metatextually, he serves a Sun Wukong-like function in the story. Just as Sun Wukong was the first companion Sangshang met on his journey, Ryuji is the first for Joker. His arcana is the Chariot, which, as a most basic reading, is a symbol of momentum. Ryuji's self-assuredness causes him to charge headfirst into every conflict, and narratively, he keeps the story constantly barreling forward, just as Sun Wukong is the driving force in most chapters of Journey to the West. And Ryuji's rather crass assertion to punish all the rotten adults in the world is basically the same as Sun Wukong's challenge to all of the gods in heavens. You bigwigs up there think you can control everything, but we're gonna take it down a peg. It's a completely different story from Journey to the West, and there's essays worth of other things I can say about him, diving into Japanese bancho culture and socioeconomic context. But at the end of the day, the spirit of the Monkey King is strong with this kid.
Amen.
Losers.
Nice work, team.
I mean, when you know Ryuji, he's a loyal friend. It definitely shows Wukong there.
Here we go.
And
Donkey
finally,
Kong.
he's here.
Performing for you.
He's the
If you know the words, you can join in too.
No, it's not a
stop.
Donkey Kong character. It's actually a bit more complicated than that, but some of you may remember a little game company called Ninja Theory. They're the developers of Heavenly Sword, as well as a forgotten 2010 gem called Enslaved Odyssey to the West. Yeah, you can already see it in the game's title.
Yeah.
Though a far departure from the original story,
Odyssey to the West,
Enslaved gives us some loose plot threads of the original novel, recontextualized into a sci-fi post-apocalyptic story, and reimagines the magical Monkey King into the kind of generic, gruff, muscly guy who starred in every game of the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But hey, he has the hair. This is Monkey,
really count?
a woodland loner whose physical prowess gets him wrapped up in the fate of the world. After escaping a prison transport, Monkey runs into Tripitaka, a tech-savvy girl who's just trying to get home. Her name is no coincidence, though. Tripitaka is the original Sanskrit name of the monk Tan Sangshang. Knowing she could never survive the journey alone, Tripitaka attaches a prisoner's headband to Monkey's forehead, which forces Monkey to obey her commands with electrical shocks, and will kill him if Tripitaka's heartbeat ever stops. Tripitaka admits that this is a cruel thing to do, but now if she dies, Monkey dies. So they're just gonna have to make this journey to the West together. Enslaved does one thing that, surprisingly, none of these other games did. It sees Journey to the West for what it is, a big escort mission. Sun Wukong could easily get through all of these trials himself. In fact, atop his cloud, he often goes back and forth between Earth, Heaven, and Hell in a single chapter. But the point is that SonSon has to make the journey on his own 2 feet, and Sun Wukong has to see to it that his squishy human survives. Level design in Enslaved is much the same way. Monkey's superior Nathan Drake climbing lets him move about the map easily, but he'll have to find ways to clear a silk road for Tripitaka. This is, in spirit, the closest thing to Sun Wukong's actual experience, the trial that earned this talking monkey his own Buddhahood. And while not every beat of the novel is hit, Ninja Dream found some clever ways of sneaking in other aspects of the character. The headband, obviously, but also his sashed belt that gives him the appearance of having a tail, similar to Shiba. Both his weapon and mode of transportation play a part as well, just sci-fi it up. His gun lance still changes shape with its hydraulic pistons, with the added bonus of firing rounds, maybe as a stand-in for Wukong's elemental magics. And the Cloud is a fancy hoverboard that he can use to scout ahead in dangerous terrain. No transformations, but there is a sort of duplication. It's just given to Tripitaka as a holographic decoy that she can drop to get out of tight spots. The first time we see Monkey, he's hatching out of an egg-shaped holding pod. The first encounter that gives him any sort of trouble is a robotic tiger. And even Pigsy makes a major appearance as a hybrid antagonist and ally on Tripitaka's pilgrimage. And side note, Monkey is played by the one and only Andy Serkis, who might be an actual monkey. This guy's amazing.
Do you think you could tell me what the plan is?
To get you home as fast as possible so that you can take this thing off my head and I can break your neck.
I meant...
Yeah, I know what you meant.
But my reason for putting Monkey and Ryuji at the top is the ability of actual dynamic storytelling. Fighting game and MOBA characters, Musou characters, and roguelike movesets, bosses, and Pokemon, these are all great. But Monkey and Ryuji are the only characters on this list who are given room to develop and grow over the course of the story, and while the Wukong symbolism is a great detail to characterize Ryuji internally, Odyssey to the West is a game that's not just inspired wholly by Sun Wukong's journey, but is able to comment and offer something back to it. The idea that, yeah, Sun Wukong's enslaving headband was kind of messed up, and how that might affect the relationship between him and, without mincing words, his captor. Sun Wukong's most important relationship in the novel was between him and Tong Sungshang, a mortal who he at first despised being chained to, but in time began to rely on as a moral compass and his first true friend. Luckily, Enslaved is only an 8-hour game, so they move pretty quickly through the uncomfortable slavery aspect, but Monkey and Tripitaka's relationship is at the heart of this criminally overlooked game. Their rapport grows from cautious allies to genuine friends as they come to understand each other and challenge each other's worldviews, eventually leading to a bit of a romance. That certainly wasn't in the original text.
Or is it just like
Do you think
linear?
they had fanfiction in Imperial China?
Probably
oh wait,
not.
yeah, they did. Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
There you go.
Well, it may not
Never
be
mind.
the Buddhist scriptures, but I'm happy to have made the journey and brought you
think
a
of the
rare
sci-fi
game that
version
people
of
have
it.
slept on. Check it out on Steam. It's pretty cheap there. And let me know if there
I'll
are
take a
any
look when I
other Sun
can.
Wukongs that I may have missed. I'm the Green Scorpion, and this character's omnipresence in media is no coincidence. In fact, just recently, an extremely faithful-looking adaptation called Black Myth Wukong was just announced.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
come
Black-
next year, this video will be completely dated.
We'll see.
Guess the joke's on me.
I think it depends on how well it's done. Something tells me no Tripitaka there. Maybe, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, like I said. Anywho, thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know what you guys think of this video, and honestly, surprised Ryuji got on there. But then again, considering his evolution is Sun Wukong, and, well, he is a bit of the bullhead of the group, makes sense. What about you guys, huh? I mean, hey, Morgana made those monkey references for a reason, after all. Until next time, guys, thanks for watching. See ya.